In our last video, we talked about what it was like growing up in the 1970s. We talked about the freedom, the absolute lack of supervision, and why navigating that rugged, analog childhood made us a generation that is tough, self-reliant, and pretty much unstoppable today. We wear that resilience like a badge of honor. Because let's face it, we earned it. But today, let's talk about the sequel. Because a strange thing happens when we spend decades being unstoppable. We don't notice the terrain changing beneath our feet. If you asked me 10 years ago, I didn't feel old. In the world's eyes, I was still fully in the mix. I was relevant. I understood the rhythm of modern life. And then, something happened. It wasn't an official announcement. There was no gold watch or retirement brochure dropped in the mail. Instead, it was a sudden, jarring realization. One day we wake up, look around and think, wait a minute, when did I become the older generation? How did this happen? Psychologists have a term for this. It's called creeping normalcy, or landscape amnesia. It's the process by which major radical changes occur so slowly, in such tiny increments, that your brain accepts them as normal. You don't notice the world shifting day by day, and then, bam! A decade flashes by, and you hit a threshold where the contrast is so sharp, it leaves you breathless. Let's look at the psychology, the environment, and the hilarious, sometimes painful, real-life moments that prove we have officially crossed the line. The reason this hits us so hard is rooted in a psychological concept known as temporal anchoring. Our brains are naturally anchored to the period of our late teens and 20s. In our minds, our internal baseline of how the world works is locked into that era. We still feel like the person who can stay up all night, fix a car engine with a screwdriver and a prayer, and handle whatever life throws at us. Because our internal anchor doesn't age, we experience an intense cognitive dissonance when we look out at the modern world. For decades, the changes around us felt like minor updates. We got a cell phone. Okay, neat. We got an email address. Fine. We moved from VHS to DVDs to streaming. It felt like progress. And we adapted because we're the generation that adapts. But while we were busy adapting, the environment around us completely mutated. Think about the physical landscape. The stores we grew up with vanished. The architecture changed. Everything became sleek, minimalist, and frankly, a little soulless. Glass and brushed steel replaced the warm, ugly, wood-paneled walls of our youth. And then there's societal mirroring. You don't feel old until society starts mirroring your age back to you. It's the subtle shift in how people look at you. 10 years ago, if I walked into a trendy restaurant or a tech store, the 20-something employees looked at me as a peer. Today, they look at us like we are keepers of ancient wisdom or fragile relics who might shatter if they speak too quickly. I've had strangers ask if I need help carrying something light or offer me a seat I didn't ask for. And I want to laugh, because in my head, I don't look like that yet. But the world started treating us like the older generation before we ever gave it permission to. And somewhere in there, I started feeling invisible in rooms I used to walk into with confidence. And let's be honest, the mirror in our own bathrooms started playing tricks on us too. When we were raised in the 70s, we had a certain mental image of what an old person looks like. An old person is someone sitting in a rocking chair, wearing a cardigan, listening to the evening news on AM radio. We don't do that. We are listening to classic rock, wearing sneakers, and staying active. But biology doesn't care about our playlist. The physical creep is real. It starts with the lighting. Suddenly you realize restaurant designers are intentionally trying to hide the menus from you by making the ambient lighting pitch black. We find ourselves doing that specific generational dance where we hold a piece of paper at arm's length, tilting our heads back to find the sweet spot in our bifocals. Then there are the sounds. Today we make noise just by standing up. A simple transition from the couch to a standing position now requires a full sound effects package, a grunt, a sigh, or a small groan. Our joints aren't injured. They're just giving us a status report. Psychologically, our relationship with our own body changes. We realize we can no longer sleep wrong. If we slept awkwardly in our 20s, we woke up, shook it off, and went about our day. Now, if we sleep on our neck wrong, we are trapped in a medical crisis for the next 4 business days. We have to explain to people, yes, I am limping. No, I didn't fall, I just had a very aggressive dream. But where this generational divide goes from a funny observation to a genuinely unpleasant reality is in how we communicate, specifically, how we handle conflict. This one's personal for me, and I'll be honest, I'm still working through what it means. If we were raised in the 70s, we were taught a very direct style of social engagement. If we had a problem with someone, a misunderstanding, or a flat-out disagreement, we dealt with it. We didn't necessarily scream and shout, but we looked the person in the eye, spoke face-to-face, or at the very least, picked up the phone. We cleared the air. We hashed it out, shook hands, and even if we didn't agree, the air was clean. We moved on. That was the rule of engagement. Trying to resolve a disagreement with a younger person today is a completely different and deeply frustrating psychological experience. First of all, they do not want to talk it out in person. The moment tension arises, they retreat behind a screen. They text paragraphs of hyper-analytical therapeutic language, or worse, they completely shut down. They engage in what the modern world calls ghosting or setting boundaries, which often just looks like avoiding a necessary, uncomfortable human conversation. Because they refuse to talk it out, the conflict never actually resolves. Instead of clearing the air, they hold a grudge. It becomes an icy, passive-aggressive marathon. And here is the absolute kicker. In this new cultural framework, no matter what happened, no matter how reasonable or direct we try to be, we are automatically cast as the bad guy. Because we value directness, clarity, and accountability, our tone is often misread as aggressive or toxic. Psychologists point out that younger generations have been conditioned to prioritize emotional safety above almost everything else. To them, an uninvited, direct confrontation feels like an attack. To us, avoiding a conversation feels like cowardice and disrespect. When we find ourselves trapped in that dynamic, feeling entirely misunderstood just because we wanted to have an honest talk, that is when the realization hits us like a tidal wave. We realize we aren't just older, we are operating on an entirely different cultural operating system. I won't pretend I've figured out how to bridge that gap. That's a conversation for another day. But I know I'm not the only one who feels it. It makes us look at the sheer fragility of the modern environment and shake our heads. We grew up drinking out of garden hoses, riding bikes without helmets, and solving our own problems because our parents explicitly told us not to come back inside until the streetlights came on. We developed thick skin out of sheer necessity. Today, the world feels wrapped in bubble wrap, yet everyone seems more bruised than ever. We see people experiencing a minor daily inconvenience, like a delayed coffee order or a slow Wi-Fi connection, and treating it like a catastrophic life event. They film it, they cry on camera, they look for validation from strangers on the internet. To a 70s kid, this is mind-boggling. Our instinct is to say, rub some dirt on it and keep moving. But the modern world doesn't want to rub dirt on it. The modern world wants to file a report, start a hashtag, and take a mental health day. And that's when the BAM moment truly solidifies. We realize that the grit, the stoicism, and the unshakable nature that we developed in the 70s, the very things that make us feel tough and unstoppable, are the exact traits that make us look like ancient Spartans to the people around us today. So, how and when did we become the older generation? It crept up on us through changing store signs, a few more aches in the morning, strangers offering to carry things we never asked them to carry, and a digital world that mutated faster than we ever thought possible. It hit us fully when we realized that our way of speaking, resolving conflict, and moving through life is now considered the old way. But here is what I want you to remember. Being the older generation isn't a defeat. We are the final bridge generation. We are the only people left on this planet who possess the lived psychological proof that humanity can survive, thrive, laugh, and build deep relationships completely offline. We know how to navigate a crisis without an app. We know how to stand our ground when things get tough. The world might see us as the older generation, and that's fine. Let them. Because the truth is, they're going to need our resilience, our directness, and our unstoppable spirit to help them navigate the world they're building. If this hit home for you, drop a comment below about the exact moment you realized you'd officially crossed the threshold. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for being here. Take a breath. Let's keep taking the next step together. And remember, when life gives us lemons, we finally know what to do with them.